Okay, doing the actual video now. I was gonna do some on this literature. I'm gonna break it up in a couple videos, I think, but just wanted to go over some of the interesting things in some of this literature that I have. Talk about it. I just like to do kind of laid back videos discussing things things I've dealt with, things that I collect, things I have, so you can see it, get my thoughts of somebody who's used it, and then get feedback from people who have more knowledge than I do about this equipment. Because if it's if that thing's your jam, like especially like a stroker, I never was able to afford one when I was younger. I just got one recently, and and people, got a lot of feedback on that. Guys that knew a lot. And I knew there was guys out there that knew a ton about those things, and it was really cool to get, interesting facts about those things. So that's my goal. Just do kind of laid back videos. I just the last one I happened to catch fire and go on this DEI rant, but for the most part, I'm not going to do videos like that. It was just something that I had building up for about 16 years thinking about. But anyway, this is the XPL. And this is the original Kicker XPL subs. And I don't think I got into the manual and showed. I did want to go over. If you see here, look at those efficiency ratings. And, on the 10, you're getting a 10-inch doing over 90 dB of efficiency. The only other subs I can think of offhand that I know do that are the Cerwin Vega Stealths. Those were crazy efficient. I don't know if they were this efficient. They might even been more efficient. But I mean, look at that, 96.2 on a 15. You won't find anything like that. So, and there's a lot of variables: box, cabin, and whether you're reaching the limits of the mechanical capabilities of the subwoofer. Sorry, I'm trying to get in focus. There we go. But so you don't just take that as gospel that you're going to feed it 1 watt and you're going to get let's say 90.7 dB out of a 10 at 1 watt. But it just gives you a general idea of how efficient these drivers are. And from my understanding, every 3 dB will be a doubling in the actual audible sound. So you're talking about, you get today, you get a 12, a 15, sometimes in the 87, 88 range. And so, but also they do handle a lot more wattage. So as you increase the watts, you'll end up, catching and surpassing these, but you'll need a lot of power to do it. Whereas these did it with, very little power, very little effort. And I just think that makes for a better sounding driver. I think that, generally speaking, in my opinion, more efficient drivers handle, I don't want to call it transients or, just changes in the music or especially like kick drum, because I listen to a lot of rock. Generally the better efficiency rating you're seeing on a sub, to me, a lot of times the better it'll sound. And that's not always the case. You can do other tricks of the trade, like PPI did with the Pro subs. Those were not the most efficient drivers. Heavy cone, very stiff suspension to keep linearity, but underhung design of the voice coil. So it's always in the entire coil's in the gap at rest. So it's firing on all cylinders from rest. I think they made up for a lot of that. I don't know. I think there's a lot going on with that sub that makes it such an excellent sounding driver. But and I've gone over this before. This is the Orion. But I did do a little more because I was talking in my video. I thought the GS 1000 was a huge amp. Turns out like a GS 100 was like a 280. I'm sorry, it'd be like the equivalent to the 240. But those would all be like, gold plated and, matched inside the, inside Orion. I mean, they sent you the best of the best of the boards. And then the 1000 would be a 280 GX. But yeah, and these specs are, I believe, shared throughout, 107 dB signal to noise. This is 110. So yeah, so it went from 107, and then I believe it went better than 110 for the 280 and above. So you have the 2150 and the 4100. And there's just the specs on those. Sorry. There you go. Anyway, I was talking about this. And that's when I had this, and I'll probably close out this video. But I was telling you what an amazing fuse holder this was from Orion. These, I do not believe, were made by Orion now. I don't know what third party made these, but you're talking, this has got to be the nicest fuse holder I've ever held. I mean, this came with the 250 HCCA that I bought. It's extremely heavy. Everything's thick. Nice plated, or I'm sorry, solid brass. Just really, really nice fuse holders. The polycarbonate center here. I mean, you have to shatter quite a fuse to get through that thing. But on eBay, somebody's selling a OEM linear power fuse holder, and it's this fuse holder. And I don't know I know that the box that it comes in was stamped linear power, but they're claiming that's what linear power sent you if you bought one of their higher amps, like an 8002, like the 800 watt beast, or any of the larger linear powers. This is what they would send you as a fuse holder for that amplifier. So I guess it came with the amps, but then this also came with the larger Orion amps at one time. And so it would be the digital reference class, so it would be early 90s. So, same time period. So it must have been like a third party made these, and these were just like, the nicest ones on the market. So when you bought in more expensive amp, this is what you got. So then they just branded it for them, with the Orion logo. But I just thought that was interesting because I thought this was an Orion fuse. But then I saw one for linear power, and I'm 99.99% sure that it's the identical one. I mean, you can look it up. It's the same thing, but just a sweet fuse holder. But anyway, get back to what I was trying to show in another video. Oh, here it is. So these PPIs are like just dead silent. And I do have my RCAs run on one side and my power and ground run on the other side of the vehicle. So I did all the things to keep noise down, but they have zero noise. So if you have the thing turned off, and these had an external noise gate you could buy, that way if you weren't feeding in the signal, it would shut it down entirely, so you would have zero. But these are still on, running, and just a very, very low noise floor. And I believe this is why, this balanced differential inputs. And you only find this on the upper scale amps, but it kind of describes it here. It reduces the noise radiated into your signal cables by 40 dB. So basically you don't need to use a shielded cable with these amplifiers, which was a really nice feature. But I just found this really interesting. And then too, this is very specific to the 4100 or the 1400, which is the monoblock. Is they had a crossover, Linkwitz Riley type, which I believe have a steeper roll off. And then it's got a subsonic filter, so you can. Like I was talking about that in the video when I was reviewing these amps. So you can dial that up from 5 to 50. And then you can dial this down from 50 to 300. You can go from 300 down, and from 50 to up, or or anything in between that, between the specs. So basically, you could bandpass it. So you could say, I want that sub to be playing. When this was my idea, I used this on those XPL10s. I said I want it playing from 40. So I dialed the subsonic up to 40. Which is really sweet. These have a detented, their crossovers are detented on the settings. So you can, for certain, be where you want to be. If I can find the page, they have a page in here, and it tells you if you want it, click it this many times, and you will be at this many hertz. You know what? It might not even show it in there, but it's in like if I get one out for, this one's for like the 2350. It's probably the page that's sticking together. Oh, where are we at here? Man. Can't believe I can't find that page. Generally, that's what I'm turned to when I'm using these, is because I'm setting my crossovers, and it gives you a page specifically just on, you know, what oh, you know what, I'm sorry, that doesn't have the, it's the 4100 that has it.